great to be here. Always enjoy coming down to Evansville and seeing all of you. Thanks for the introduction. It's a fun year for IU soccer and a fantastic year for IU athletics. You can look at some of the hardware here and certainly the most recent with baseball. Tremendous. You can go on the line of how these sports are doing at IU. It's really fun because I was born into this back in 1972. My father got to Indiana in '63, and 50 years later, we have the crowning jewel of college soccer programs. And I couldn't be prouder of that and all that what's come through this journey to get us to this point. But yeah, 1973, the first year of varsity, we're entering our 40th year. And you look at this program, and as we talk about expectations, they're always very high. Some years are they as realistic, but we expect to win. And this group understands that. They understand what this program is all about. We talk about it. We have my father come speak to the team on a few occasions just to make sure they understand the message. But what this program's done with 18 trips to the Final Four in just under 40 years, there was a clip there, that's about every other year. And now our 8th championship. And this means a lot to a lot of folks, and being an IU alum myself really means a lot, and all the success of our teams. This doesn't happen without a great team around you. I have 2 outstanding assistant coaches along with a lot of other support staff, Brian Mazanoff and Ernie Yarborough, both Indiana grads. We played together. So again, there's a commonality that we have when we teach our athletes, and it's special. This year certainly was one that we came in with a group that we knew could do something, but yet what obviously we achieved in the end was quite a ride. And this wouldn't have happened without a lot of factors. Every championship team has a little bit different story behind it. And this one in particular had 17 players from the state of Indiana. By far the most we've ever had an Indiana roster, let alone a championship. And one really important player in our group was right here from Evansville. Joe Tolan, his father Jim. Jim, raise your hand back there. Let's thank Jim and Joe for everything they've done. We always say, leave your mark. There's a lot of friendly banter we have amongst our alumni. But one thing that is very clear, and Joe just graduated, has a fantastic job, but Joe will be one of these kids that we talk about in 15, 20 years that we give the example of. What a great teammate, fantastic player, but a great person, and one that will use an example from a leadership standpoint down the line. And really, Joe has left his mark, and he's leaving with a championship ring. And we're going to certainly love seeing the family come back down. But Evansville has been an important place for us, and we hope there's another Joe Tolan in this area that we can bring to IU. But that banter goes on quite a bit. I remember after winning the Big Ten championship my first year, in '91, I bring it out to the summer camps, and we have a lot of alumni work it, and I'm wearing that ring around, and one of the alums looks at me and they go, "What are you doing?" I go, "I got my new ring." They go, "No, you don't wear Big Ten rings. We wear championship rings." I said, "We just won a championship." He goes, "No, that's a good one. There's a better one." So if I didn't really know it at that point as a freshman in college, that's what the alums expect. And again, it's all about how can you, it's like a brother rivalry. You have a lot of respect, you want them to do well, but you want to beat them. And that's a lot about this program, is that we want to leave a mark that's different and better than what's before. And we take a lot of pride in our history, but that's what the challenge is, and it's fun. Our alumni have a good time getting after our group. So that championship ring has been one that's very important in front of our players at all times. But this run that this group went on, obviously led by an incredible group of Indiana kids in particular, particular, we had some adversity. And anyone that's in sports knows that adversity is really sometimes the best teaching tool. And this team had those moments the last few years. We've been building momentum for us to be able to achieve this. And we stumbled a little bit at the end of the year. And for this group to bounce back as they did and to go on this run, and it wasn't an easy run. We had to go to Notre Dame, the #1 seed in the tournament, at their place, the round of 16, and we beat them in overtime. And I do remember they scored first, middle of the second half, and nice goal. Scored, the goal's taken, and all I remember looking out in the field, and there was a response from our group that was very much businesslike. They went and got the ball. They jogged up to midfield. No one looked at each other. And within 30 seconds, we scored the tying goal. And I just looked at this and said, that just happened. He goes, yeah, that was a good one. I said, yeah. It felt like about 10 minutes, quite honestly. But 30 seconds. And what that said, this group was so focused on living the moment, and they were so focused on achieving what this group had set, and that was the quest for 8. That was kind of the mantra this whole year. The Q for 8 that this team took on, trying to win that 8 championship. And 30 seconds later, A.J. Corrado puts the tying goal in, and we win in overtime. So we take down Notre Dame, the #1 seed, on the road. Then we go to North Carolina. This team had been to 3 straight college cups. They won the championship the year before. And they had a 40-game home unbeaten streak. That's about 3 seasons of home games. So they're pretty good. And we lost to them in the round of 16 the year before. And many people asked me last year after the season, what did you think about this team? I said, this group, there was something different when that team took the field. And you only notice, you have this feeling when you're an athlete, that when you take the field, you expect to win, and you have that swag. And that group had it. And it wasn't there the first few years consistently, but that team took the field in 11. And yet we came out on the short end with an overtime loss. But I said, that team is ready to do something. And the core of that team just did that. We went to North Carolina and beat them 1-0 at their place. And one of the most vivid memories that I'll have from this whole run is in the locker room after the game. This group had the flag. They did a fight song. And only because the 17 guys are from our state on our team, I think they all know it. He did this back in like 82 with all our St. Louis alums and all that. I don't know how many would have known it, but this group absolutely front to back to the fight song in the North Carolina locker room. And I was in there dancing too. I don't kind of remember it. But talking about an emotional time for our team, but that's the type of pride this group had. For not only the program, for IU athletics. And then we move on to the College Cup, which is the Final Four. So we're 18th one we're about to go into. And we're down in Hoover, Alabama, and we beat a really good Creighton team in the semifinal. And we're in the lobby of the hotel. And this team was really enjoying this whole experience, I tell you. They were loose, they were focused. We let them enjoy the time that they had, because when they knew they took the field, what they had to do. But a lot of our alumni were there, a lot of friends, a lot of fans, we had great support. And there was a group of alumni in the corner. They might have had a little bit of the happy hour, enjoying Hoover. They pull over some of our guys, and they pull them over, and I'm like, oh boy, what are they talking about? And about 10 minutes later, I bring them over and say, all right, guys, we got to head into a meeting. So what was going on over there? They go, Coach, they're yelling at us. So what are they yelling at you for? We're in the final. They go, yeah, just don't go home without a ring. So they're pointing at the ring again, saying, you better go home, the job isn't done. So here we got a lot of family, all kumbaya, everyone's feeling good, in the championship, everyone's feeling great, and you have our alumni saying, don't even think about going home until you bring that home. So that's what we deal with on a regular basis, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And they were smiling. Because again, they weren't playing out of pressure or fear, they weren't playing out of anxiety, they were playing out of confidence. And they knew they could do this. And then the Georgetown game, the final. And I said this the last time I spoke to the group. It was an emotional time in many different moments for me personally, but this one really hit. I'm in the room, it was the quietest time I had the entire weekend. It's about 10 minutes before the bus loaded for the championship game, and I'm on the 4th floor, sitting in my room, no one's in there, I'm reflecting on the game, really thinking about what we have at the task at hand. And then all of a sudden I hear the fight song come up from the lobby. The band was there, the cheerleaders. We had 300-400 people singing off the team. And so this quiet turns into this fight song. And for all of you, for me, being born into this, but for that moment right there, I lost it for about 15 minutes. I couldn't quite pull it together. And usually that's not a problem for me. But I was overcome with what this game meant, what all the alumni have done for the program, what this championship would mean to so many people, not only for our players, but everyone. And it took me a little bit to recover from that. But it was just the song, that's all I could hear, kind of mumbling through the airways. And I head downstairs and the coaches looked at me, and I was actually a little late to the team bus going to the championship game. And they're going, "Coach, you all right?" And they could tell, they could see it. They're like, they could see it. I was still a little bit shaken up, but that was the lead into the final. And we beat a very good Georgetown team, 1-0. And going into halftime of that game, I turned to Brian Mason, my assistant, and I said, both teams are very fatigued. It's a tough physical turnaround in soccer to play Friday night and Sunday. The biggest stage, very quick turnaround. And I said, we're going to get a goal here about halfway through the second half. Because I think we can hold on physically if we can get one. And we were chatting about a lot of things, and so we score well before that. And Brian looks at me and goes, "That was a little bit early, wasn't it?" I said, "It's fine, we'll take it." But that's the type of, having the friends and co-coaches that we have, that's the type of thing that can kind of keep you light in the moment. And certainly there was no better sight to see the athletes on the field get to share that experience. The fans, we had thousands of fans in Hoover. I was looking for my father after the game, and I knew he was sitting up in the press box. And people were asking, where, after we were all celebrating, taking pictures, and he didn't come down. I kind of was sitting up there for a while. And we finally saw each other at the tailgate. And of course, my mom, she's crying for about a half hour, but that's what she does. And I finally see my dad, and I could tell, he was probably having the same emotion I had before the game. And he couldn't quite come down, but that's kind of how he is. And, but again, what a special time for us to bring home the 8th championship. And we're soon home. And Joe Tolan, our Evansville native, I see him in the locker room. This is a couple days after. We immediately put the championship picture in the locker room. Leave your mark. They're going to have a rubber star on their uniform, and now they have a picture in the locker room. Championship picture. And Joe is sitting in the locker room. You can tell he's just reflecting on the season, sitting there by himself. And I walk in, and I look around, and quiet in there. I look into the locker room, and we have a little board our players write stuff on. And on the board was Q for 8, or Q for 9 rather, which is Quest for 9. And I turned around the corner, I go, "Joe," and I said, "Do you see that on the board?" He goes, "Yeah, I saw it, Coach." And he goes, "Those young guys." He's like the old soul, and he's trying to enjoy the moment, and he's like, "That's the freshmen, sophomores." And what you love about it is it's exactly what you want. And that's what we are in this business. It's always about the next one. But we enjoyed this, and as we say, this team is the reigning champions. We're not defending anything. That championship is done. It's in the books. It will always be special. They'll have the 8th star. It's going to push the 7 across. This one's outdated. So we have the 8th star. They'll forever be on their uniform and everything that we wear. And that's special for them. That's the elite of the elite in our program. We get to have that. And we're excited to see this group relish that from in future years. Just to look forward, I want to reflect on last year, but looking at next year's team, 2013 will be a nice year for us. I'm very excited. People say the recruiting change. We had athletes who wanted to come to Indiana. If they want to be part of the best, they would already want to come. It certainly helps. The spring season had a couple ups and downs of results. It's an exhibition season. I told the players, I said, your training has gone to a new level. This is post-championship. I think we said championship 5 times the entire spring. It was all about preparation. And this team's training habits were incredible. Dropped a few games in the spring, but we are a deeper team, we're more prepared, and yet we have missing pieces. We have the 3rd most players playing in professional soccer of any college program. And our goalkeeper, our center back, and a forward, 3 starting players that had a lot of important roles for us are gone, along with 7 incredibly important seniors that had a lot of different roles. That's going to be a lot of important shoes to fill. But again, we have a great class coming. We have a name for a you that follow soccer in our program. Greg Thompson, one of our past greats, has 2 of his boys coming to play for us. And just look out for these 2. Talk about a continuing tradition. This is now our 2nd alumni set that's come back. Tommy Meyer was the first, but now the Thompson brothers. These 2 are special kids, along with 5 other outstanding incomers. So I like this team. And I had my dad speak to the team at the end of the spring and gave some internal awards. And of course, all he talked about was we like to do things in doubles. 82-83 championship. We had the 87-88, or the 88 and the 98-99. We do things in doubles, and so he liked to talk about that. So he decided to rev up the group a little bit, and I thanked him for that. But again, this team is all about preparation, and we're really excited. We have the toughest schedule in the country. Big Ten soccer is the #1 conference, and Rutgers and Maryland coming in are only going to make that more difficult. We love it. Bring them in. Love the challenge. And we schedule specifically the toughest. We have UCLA and SMU open up. And that's the philosophy that we always had. If we drop 1 or 2 to know where we are, we'll have a better team at the end of the year. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to win championships. And I'm excited to see what this group can do. I want to thank all of you again. Before I do hit on the academic piece, last spring our team had just under a 3.4 GPA heading into this fall. As a team, that's 29 student athletes. We had over a 3.1 team GPA. And so talk about leaving a mark. This team can win championships on and off the field. Really proud of what they're doing, and you see that around the whole athletic department. These athletes want to win championships, and they're all competing. That's what is the culture right now, and it's exciting. But I want to thank all of you for your support, for what you do for all of us. When you come down and support our programs, and all what you do financially to make it possible for us to give our student athletes the best experience. Because as we know, there's nothing quite like Indiana University. Thank you.